Imagine a sky so clear it feels like a glass ceiling. In a small village in Yemen, the air is still. A young boy looks up, not at a bird, but at a silver speck that doesn't belong. It is silent. Until it isn't. In an instant, the silence is shattered by a roar that costs millions of dollars and a life that was priceless. This is the invisible reality of a war that has been whispered in the halls of power for decades. It is a story not of a single day, but of a persistent rhythmic violence that has become the background noise of the 21st century. We are told these strikes are surgical. We are told they are precise. But for the families on the ground, there is nothing surgical about a hole where a home used to be. The machinery of this conflict didn't start yesterday. It is a legacy handed down from one leader to the next, a baton of fire passed through the decades. Since 1980, the list of nations that have felt the weight of American munitions is long and staggering. At least 14 countries in the Islamic world have been invaded, occupied, or bombed. Iran, Libya, Lebanon, Kuwait, Iraq, Somalia, Bosnia, Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan, Sudan, Kosovo, Yemen, Pakistan, Syria. These are not just names on a map. They are places where children go to school and mothers wake up to prepare breakfast. Yet, for over 40 years, the horizon in these nations has often been defined by the smoke of a distant or immediate explosion. It is a cycle of violence so continuous that the world has almost stopped noticing. In the shadows of this global reach, a new kind of warfare was born. It was touted as the clean way to fight. No boots on the ground, no messy invasions, just drones. Under one administration alone, the use of these pilotless machines was not just used, it was institutionalized, it was normalized. Between two presidencies, over 550 strikes were recorded outside of traditional battlefields. These operations were calculated to kill over 3,400 militants. But the math of war is rarely that simple. Within those same spreadsheets, at least 470 civilians were admitted to be lost. And those are just the official numbers. On the ground, the definitions change. In the height of these campaigns, any male of military age killed in a strike zone was often labeled a suspected militant by default. They were stripped of their civilian status in death, their stories buried under a label of convenience. But the true weight of this history is felt most heavily by those who have no part in the fighting. The women who try to shield their children with their own bodies. The children who learn to recognize the sound of an engine before they learn to read. In the most recent chapters of this ongoing saga, the numbers have moved from the hundreds into the tens of thousands. In the conflict in Gaza, the human toll has reached a level that defies easy comprehension. Within just 2 years, over 10% of the entire population has been killed or injured. Think about that. 1 out of every 10 people. As of late 2025, the count of the dead stands at over 67,000. Over 169,000 have been left with injuries that will haunt them for a lifetime. These are not just statistics. They are the fragments of a society being torn apart in real time, fueled by tens of billions of dollars in military aid and arms transfers. We live in a world where this has become the status quo. Our movies, our sporting events, and our cultural products often normalize this militarism, making it feel like an inevitable part of life. We are conditioned to see the world as a series of targets and tactical objectives, rather than a collection of human beings. We forget that behind every suspected militant label is a father. We forget that behind every displacement statistic is a child who is afraid of the sky. We forget that the costs of war are not just figures in a budget, but the permanent silencing of voices that had every right to be heard. As the sun sets over a graveyard in a land we will never visit, we must ask ourselves what remains. We see a landscape where the tools of war have been refined to a terrifying degree, yet the world feels no safer. We see a legacy of leaders who have all, regardless of party, found reasons to keep the bombs falling. And we see the faces of the innocent, the women and the children, who are the primary witnesses to this destruction. They are the ones who carry the physical and psychological scars of a conflict they did not choose. They are the ones who remain when the news cameras leave and the direct violence fades into the indirect struggle for survival. The true history of these decades isn't found in the victory speeches or the policy papers. It is written in the dust of the 14 nations that have been the testing grounds for a century of fire. It is written in the hearts of the millions of displaced people searching for a home that no longer exists. And it is written in the silence of the tens of thousands who are no longer here to tell us what it feels like when the sky turns against you. The machinery of war is powerful, but it is also blind. It cannot see the humanity it destroys. It only sees the mission. And as long as the mission is valued more than the person, the glass ceiling of that clear Yemen sky will continue to shatter over and over again. In the end, we are left with a haunting reality. The cost of war is never truly paid by those who start it. It is paid by those who have nothing left to give. It is a debt settled in the lives of the innocent, a bill that continues to come due every time a new leader takes the oath and the drones take flight. We are not just observers of this history. We are the ones who allow it to be normalized. And until we look into the eyes of the survivors and see our own reflection, the cycle will never truly break. The most dangerous part of a 10-minute war is the lifetime of silence that follows.